Welcome to Tim and Julie Harris Superstar Interviews. We're joined today by Galen Ward, the co-founder of Estately, a new type of online digital brokerage that millions of homebuyers turn to every month on the web and their mobile devices to find homes across the United States. Galen has a background in web application and geographic information systems development and partnered with co-founder Doug Cole to launch Estately. In addition to his technical experience, he's also experienced in raising venture capital to support his ventures and contributes as a business and technology startup mentor through the 500 Startups organization. Now to your host, Tim Harris.
So Galen, welcome to today's call. I really appreciate you being our guest. I'm really looking forward to talking with you about the site and what the business is and how it's positioned differently in the marketplace. And I have to start out by saying, beautiful site, elegant, simple to use, loads really fast. I was playing around with it prior to today's radio interview on my Mac and also on my iPhone. It just works brilliantly, and I don't know whatever voodoo and witchcraft you guys are doing to make things work so well, but keep it up. So out of curiosity, what inspired you to found Estately, especially in a landscape that's crowded with similar type sites? Where's the genesis behind the inspiration for starting this business?
Well, thanks for having me here today, Tim. I really appreciate it. What inspired us to found Estately? We really wanted to create a company that was more like somewhere between a brokerage and an online portal. So, consumers could shop for homes with all of the data that's in the MLS, with super up-to-date consumer data for consumers, but they could also connect with a high-quality, high-caliber agent, someone we would trust, for our own home sale or home purchase, and then to improve that experience, to bring that experience online all the way through to closing. So our inspiration was really through some frustration of, using sites, seeing missing data, and not being very consumer-friendly and having 5 smiling faces at you with no idea if they're any good, to wanting to create more of a curated, high-quality online real estate experience.
Okay, I understand, having visited your site, what you're talking about. And listeners, if you have not yet visited their site, you definitely want to have that experience because it is significantly different than the typical major portals. And it is more elegant. But the thing that's interesting is the way you guys go about so let's just cut right to it, because a lot of our listeners, we've exposed them to a lot of the big portals, and they have their own opinions about, Zulia, as we like to call them, and so they have some, I say preconceived biases towards any sort of portals. But you guys are significantly different, and all of our listeners will know that we are advocates of buying leads, provided that they are attached to a referral fee. In other words, you guys pay a fee for a lead that someone legitimately generated for you, not so unlike if you got a listing lead from a fellow agent across the country or buyer lead or whatnot, you're expected to traditionally pay some form of a referral fee. And you guys work the same way, correct? So let's just kind of cut to it so these guys don't have to listen with their skeptical earplugs on. As you know, I'm sure this is something you have to address, and you already were with your opening statement.
Well, virtually every agent we work with has at some point spent money on online advertising, and the gross majority of them do not currently spend money on Zerulia or Zulia, but have lost money on it in the past. The way that we're set up is it's different. So it's a referral fee-based setup for agents on the agent side. So if a consumer asks to see a property or asks for more information, we put them in touch with an agent in our referral network. So we have about 800 active agents right now. And when they transact, and we don't make any money unless that consumer transacts. So there's a huge difference there. We don't want to sell the lead to 10 different people because we're not selling it. We only make money if they transact. So our goal is to make the consumer very happy with the agent that we introduce them to, so make it a personal introduction or as personal as possible. Make sure the agent's the right fit for the consumer, and the agent is going to do all the follow-up and be the professional that we want them to be, that will make the consumer comfortable with them and help them close. So basically, we're trying to work on both sides of the equation. Can we make the consumer experience so great they want to buy a home with one of our agents? And can we make sure we have great agents who know how to handle online leads and enjoy working hard on the other side to take those leads, so we can make it a great experience and make money together.
So from the consumer side, obviously, you guys are providing listing data, right? And you guys, I don't know if are you a subscriber to ListHub, or are you getting the information in another source?
So no, we're actually a virtual brokerage, and we actually have IDX data from about 80 MLSs right now.
Okay, perfect. So how do you go about choosing the agents that you guys will include as part of your referral network, or whatever your internal name for it is?
Yeah, so I guess we call it our partner network. We love agents who sign up. So we have a kind of a hidden sign-up link at the bottom of our site saying agents
it is
sign up
hidden
here.
Too.
Yeah, we're not looking for the random schmo off the street. We're looking for an agent who was told typically by another agent in their office, or they heard about us from a friend. Those folks are hands down the best at working with our clients and the most successful. Basically, it's a 10 or 15 minutes sign-up process tops. And then we ask for a couple of interviews and try to make sure that we're really it's going to be a good relationship. Great agents, it's really interesting. Great agents, it is a very profitable and great relationship for great agents, and for not great agents, they don't convert as well. They try to save time. They try to spend less time on every lead and try to really cut to the chase. And they actually spend, they make less on a per hour basis because, they're looking only for the leads that are instantly going to buy. And there's so much, you can get 10 times the business if you invest a little bit of time with every single person you talk to.
Well, so you found yourself in the deep well of essentially managing agents and sort of scoring,
right.
Yeah, and that's kind of an interesting paradigm, because that's usually what technology businesses try to avoid like the plague, is getting on the this end of the industry. But you guys have embraced it. I'm sort of curious, what are your best users, the agents that really come to mind? And I'm sure there's a bunch that come to mind as being like real, great examples of how to maximize the return on investment of participating with your company. What are the qualities that they have? What are they doing better than the other agents?
That is such a great question, and some things are really obvious. So our very best agents call people back almost instantly. And that sounds crazy. That's right. That's that's sort of they also breathe. It seems like a basic, but that is a basic that not everyone can do. But then our very great agents have systems in place, because if you're talking to many people and some of them aren't ready to buy this month or next month, you need to be able to remember to call them back 2 months from now. So they have a CRM or some system that works to keep them touching base with people. They're texters, or they're technology friendly, but texting is just a great way to start. They're comfortable sending a text to a client to see if the client texts them back. They're like, okay, this person's a texter. And the very best ones are just great salespeople, in the sense that they are comfortable with, they love a sale, they love a successful sale, and they are comfortable with rejection. Part of online leads is picking yourself up after you've spent, you're like, that person was not a good fit for me, and I'm going to treat the next person like they're going to be a successful customer. The glass is full for our agents. For every single client they talk to, they give them their full attention, and they don't run them through the ringer. I think that's the kind of counterintuitive thing. Is it's like, well, if it's an online lead, you should really verify them and make sure that they're a good fit. And what we found is the very best folks say, I'll meet with anyone once, and then I'll expect them to, and we'll talk and we'll understand where they're at, because that person's spending time and they don't know who you are as an agent. So they'll meet with an agent, or they'll meet with a client, and then after that, they'll kind of say, all right, well, let's make sure, it sounds like you have a job and yada, yada, yada. Let's make sure you're, pre-qualified or you can afford these houses.
So you must track these agents. Like, you must know in a particular marketplace who's going to be better at converting a particular lead, because you guys get paid on the outcome just like an agent does. Your success is tied to their success. So can you share what...
it's funny, like some of the things that make them successful are with clients, make them successful with us. So we ask, we're like, what's going on with this client? A really well-organized agent will proactively tell us, hey, this client's awesome, and we're probably going to buy a house the next month. A very good agent will get back to us instantly, and an agent who does not have their business to a high-caliber level, will take a few days to give us an update on a referral. So
that's interesting.
It's funny. Yeah.
Well, I mean, you're saying something now which I really like. You're saying that not only are you sending these referrals to these guys, not only are you tracking basically who's more efficient at, obviously, I laughed when you said they return phone calls, because that's like the number one complaint that consumers have about realtors. They don't return phone calls. And if they get a great lead from you guys, how long are they taking to follow up on that lead? Because, guys, if there's one, listeners, if there's one little, secret sauce element that should be the number one thing on everyone's, to-do list, it's following up on all your leads immediately. And there's been all kinds of different studies, but the bottom line is 3 minutes or less on every lead you get. And we also know, and, all kinds of different research that validates this, that generally speaking, a consumer will work with the first realtor that they meet. So there you go. You get a great lead. You follow up with them immediately, and they're the first. And you obviously, you don't sneeze on the customer. You do a great job for them. Chances are, when they're ready to buy or sell, they're going to do business with you. So So inside your business, you guys are obviously tracking who's better at converting, tracking who's better at, going from lead to actually sale. But I heard you also saying you're somehow keeping in contact with the agent after they've received the referral. Can you let our listeners know about that?
Yeah, so I mean, it's like any typical referral. If we were offline and I had a referral for you, and I sent it to you and you didn't call me back for a month, I'd get pretty uncomfortable, right? I'd say, what's going on? Why haven't I heard from him? So, the best agents treat our referrals like they treat a personal referral, and they create a relationship with our agent managers here. So they say, they call up or they email and they give us updates, and those people, it's funny. That's just almost, I don't know if it's inborn or if it's learned, but those people they're connectors. They know how to connect with us. They know how to connect with clients, and it just makes their entire business better.
So they recognize the fact that you guys are a great source of business, and they have to, they should be treating you guys like you're a great source of business, and not just treating you like just some lead that they bought someplace. And that's what you guys are expecting, and you're saying that that's part of the nature of whether you choose to send them more referrals. I mean, I'm sure there's an algorithm that's in place, or, maybe it's not that complicated. Yep. Did they close something?
We have a bunch of checks. We definitely have a whole bunch of different kind of measurements that we run on our agents and on our referrals to try to it's really in our best interest to send referrals to agents who can convert and delight customers, right? I mean, we're not trying to sell people advertising and just letting them burn through their money and then hoping that eventually we'll find somebody who can convert. It's our money on the line here.
So in addition to the qualities that we talked about that you guys look for in an agent, because obviously those are the same qualities that consumers appreciate in an agent, do you see any trends as far as like other things that your users, not the agents, obviously the consumers, do you see other things, that attributes they look for in agents that maybe aren't as obvious as the follow-up issues that we talked about before?
Well, consumers are, they're looking for a coach or, an assistant, right? They're not looking for a salesperson. So there's some things that they, especially when they're meeting a stranger off the internet. So it's a very different relationship, right? Than if a friend says, hey, you should work with my agent, they're great. There's like a ton of trust that comes with that conversation. And when you meet somebody off the internet, you have to kind of earn that trust. So there's information, but there are things like being very blunt with a consumer and saying, I don't think this is a very good house. And if you say that and you're being honest, when it's with a buyer, not with a seller, obviously, but if you say that with a buyer, they're like, oh, why? And then if you can talk through why, then next time or 5 times from now when you say, this is a great house, they're going to really trust you, right? If you say every house is great, they're going to be like, all right, well, this is not the advice I need. They like everything.
So you brought up sellers, Galen. So obviously a lot of the buyers are also sellers, but even though they're calling about a house for sale, they also might have a house to sell. How does that work inside your system? How do you guys? Is that another matrix that you guys track?
Yeah, we do track sellers, and it's something we're going to be working on. Our agents tell us they want more sellers. We also want more sellers. But yeah, a lot of our buyers end up being our sellers also, and that's a tougher in. A first-time buyer is often unaffiliated with an agent. A seller, we really work on if they a lot of them haven't spoken to the agent they worked with 2 years ago or a few years back, but they plan to. So our goal is always to say is to get to the point where we can say, look, this is the biggest transaction of your life. You should probably talk to 2 people before you do it. Maybe that's a $10,000 hour. It's worth $10,000 to interview 2 agents instead of 1. So even where they already think they have an agent, if they haven't listed their house yet, we want to make sure that we get in there. And a lot of our agents tend to have a really great listing presentation, have thought about it, and a lot of more offline agents don't. So we can win those listings.
So just so I'm clear, the first point of contact that a consumer would have when filling out an appointment or a form to schedule an appointment on a house, the first point of contact are your realtors. They're not somebody internal that's like doing lead conversion. It's basically agents, correct?
We actually do. We filter out nearly half of the leads internally. So some of them we contact we have some filters on our leads. So if they look like a high-quality lead, we want to get them into an agent's hands as fast as possible. If they look more questionable, we do some work on our end to verify them. It just hurts our credibility if we're sending agents to agents, or if we're sending people who after 1 minute on a phone call say, oh yeah, I already have an agent, they're just out of town this weekend, onto agents. So we try to make sure that our agents are getting, high quality referrals from us, and we're not treating them like a phone center, basically.
So the value proposition to the agent to me is very clear. I have absolutely no, it's great. It's perfect. I wish there were more companies that were doing what you're doing, honestly, because just you already said it and you are doing it much more eloquently than I do, that the selling leads to agents thing is just way out of hand. The amount of money that agents are paying right now for just leads, not closed transactions, but just leads, is really, it's obscene. And I really would hope that our industry would wake up to the fact that, guys, you don't need to be buying leads. You can generate your own leads. You can work with this company. You can, there's so many different ways to go about doing it. I honestly feel sorry. Sometimes we do these, you guys I'm sure have these same conversations with some of these agents where they'll have racked up tens of thousands of dollars in debt buying leads, and that usually is the very thing that forces them out of the business and into financial issues. And you said at the top of the call, they get these solicitations, and it's happening now because of the different mergers that are happening. And the typical, I get these free coaching calls from agents or some of our own students. They'll say, so-and-so just offered to sell me, 70 leads over 6 months for $5,000. And it's like, well, do the math. That's like $70 a lead. That's just a lead. That's, oh, wow. That's my reaction, too. But that's typical.
Well, who knows what
that's
those
not
leads
a closed
are,
transaction.
Right?
Huh?
And they might not even be leads. They might just be somebody, they could be, they're somewhere between the phone book and somebody's interested in buying a house, but where in that spectrum is, so what we found, what I definitely have found talking to agents that always surprises me is a non-business-like mentality about leads, where I've heard a couple of agents I've spoken to say, I spent spend $10,000 on advertising this year, and I think I will make that back.
Yeah.
And and I think I'll make that back on the sale, on the sales I'll do. And I'm always like, so you're up for 100% referral fee, because that's basically what you're telling me. You are willing to work for free and pay 100% of your commissions to advertising or to lead gen. That's not a very wise way to run a business.
So full picture on this, it's because a lot of these guys don't want to feel like failures, and they're being told and sold on the idea that it works, and so no one's telling them the truth that the buying of leads model is broke, and the leads that these guys are buying nowadays are mostly not worth anything. So when it's not working for them, opposed to them raising their hands and saying, it didn't work for me, there must be something wrong with me, they rationalize it. But yeah, I hear that all the time, and it's sad. And honestly, it's sad. And guys, some of you try to rationalize the expense you're paying to Zulia and all the others for buying leads because you have one or two transactions and you hang your head on that. Oh, I can justify the expense. Yeah, but what about all the time you spent chasing all the crap leads? That's the thing that, anyway, that's my soapbox. I don't want to burn your call up talking about that.
Well, and that's actually, I should go off on that. That is an important thing for us is some agents who are not, we like agents who are hard workers and treat being an agent, understand that it's a time-consuming job. Our best agents do spend time with our leads, and they work hard. So it's not entirely free. And agents who want our leads and think that they're free don't do the hard work that it takes to convert the leads, and then they tell us that the leads are bad. So it's just kind of like this catch-22, where if you don't think the leads are high quality, that becomes true, and they aren't high quality, and you don't actually make very much money from it. If you treat leads, it's tough. We have the numbers, and our agents don't, but our agents who treat our leads like they're really high quality convert at 5 to 10 times the rate of our average agent. And those agents, they spend more time on every lead, but they also spend less time on every sale, if that makes sense.
Well, it does make sense because they're more efficient at basically getting to the heart of, whether that client is, potential client's motivated, what their issues are. And some cases it's, okay, this is someone who's going to buy and close in the foreseeable future, and other times it's somebody that is going to maybe buy or sell with you in 6 to 12 months from now. And, it's interesting. It really, I bet you, we've done training, private training for other brokerages and whatnot, and, really, they'll pay us, 2 or 3 hours worth of training to their agents, and the whole 2 or 3 hours could be condensed down to this. Call your leads back immediately. And then when you call them back, have a script. Have a script that you're going to follow. Yeah, that's it. And, when you do it like that in itself, listeners, is a unique experience for most consumers. Just that.
And practice.
Is going to
practice that script, right?
That's right. Yeah.
No athlete goes out on the field and says, boy, I think I played a game 2 weeks ago and I haven't practiced for the last 2 weeks, but I kind of remember how to swing the bat, so I'm going to be good at this.
So the folks filling out forms on your site, the guys that are, the buyer sellers, mostly buyers that are requesting showing appointments.
Yep.
You guys, what kind of information? What are those buyers demographically? Have you been able to gather any info on those buyers?
So we have a lot of them are first-time home buyers, but a lot of them are moving. Not all of them. We have investors. We have some agents who do multiple transactions from just one of our referrals. Some of them are moving to a new state for retirement. So they tend to be all over the map. They tend to be pretty average. So, in terms of the market, if you're in a market where the average home price is $400,000, they're looking for homes around $400,000. If you're in a $150,000 market, they're looking for $150,000 homes. And so they tend to be, motivated and excited, right? And that's what we're looking for in our agents also, is that ability to communicate excitement about the home buying process. So they've just taken a big leap. They want to go see a house that they just saw online and tour it, sometimes tomorrow or the next day. And then, so for us, it's the trick is helping them tour it, and then also then kind of saying, all right, well, you've looked at a house, now let's actually talk about the home buying process.
Well, so now you're bringing up a really great question, and I hope, do you have a little bit extra time? Because my mind's spinning now with more questions for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
beyond the referral, you guys obviously are doing a lot to support the consumer and support the agent. Can you share with our listeners a little bit about what you guys are doing behind the scenes? Because it sounds like you're doing some communication with that referral, and it's basically helping them along the way of making a house buying or selling decision. Correct?
Yeah. Well, part of it is coaching our agents in terms of in terms of what that kind of cadence, that pace of talk to them. How many phone calls do you make? Even how professional can you be leading up to that tour? Can you call them that morning and say, just want to make sure we're still on? How can you get the kind of information you want to know about the consumer so you can really tailor your pitch to them? Like, are they married? Are they coming from a job? Whatever, without feeling like you're grilling them and making it feel like a conversation. And then part of it on our end is, we basically, when you sign up to see a house, as a consumer, we'll email you with similar houses as they come on the market for the foreseeable future. And consumers click on those houses a lot. And then we actually go back to our agents. And so once we've sent you a referral, we always show that agent's face on the page and their phone number. So basically from that point on, when a consumer comes back to our site, they see the agent we referred them to. They get more comfortable with them. They see their phone number. They see their email address. They can reach right back out to them. And then we're also telling our agents, we send them a daily email saying, here are the listings that your clients, that your referrals have looked at yesterday. Here's what they favorited. And it gives them talking points and gives them, it's great, if a consumer pops up after not using the site for a month, they're like, oh, I should call that person because they're clearly looking at homes again, and some of those homes are interesting.
That's awesome. I love it. What about mortgages and whatnot? When do you introduce that into the conversation, or where do you? We always coach agents to, kind of follow a parallel process once the consumer's ready, and if they haven't brought their own financing with them, to kind of make sure that they don't find themselves in a house and then figure out later they can't afford it. How do you guys coach your agents to do, get these guys financed?
Our best agents will meet the person once at a house, once they've evaluated that they feel comfortable with the consumer. They'll meet them. They will, and during that conversation, they'll talk about financing. They'll kind of do a soft pre-qualification if they can, like, oh, you're employed, or I need a short sale, or and then at that point they'll suggest they'll suggest mortgage options or following up the next day. So meet up first, then push on the mortgage options. Otherwise, the consumer is kind of spooked by a stranger telling you to do homework. And
That's
we're
right,
working internally. Oh, go ahead.
I was only going to toss in there, I'm sure you guys also suggest that your users have some level of background on the buyers before they meet with them. I know National Association of Realtors is going to come out with a lot of new safety guidelines for agents after the 2 recent homicides of realtors. So guys, don't be a Pop-Tart agent where you're just going to get a lead from these guys, from Stately or anybody else, and just go out and meet a consumer without having information on them. That is just that's not smart. So do gather some information. And again, this goes back to following a system and asking questions. And you know what? You can use this super secret tool. It's called Google. Put someone's information in there. Do a little bit of homework. Don't just be putting yourselves in a position where. And here's the other thing, guys. From a pre-qual standpoint, when you have you don't want to lock them in a Guantanamo Bay type environment and interrogate them from information, but when you have invested some time with them and they've invested some time with you prior to the first appointment, you've demonstrated your professionalism, they're going to probably stick with you versus if you just basically are a Pop-Tart agent and then you just show up for appointments whenever you want to show up for appointments. So,
absolutely.
That's something to keep in mind.
Yeah, it's that's the fine line, isn't it? It's about not just showing up whenever they want. It's creating a conversation and figuring out how to create that conversation and keeping the consumer interested and not feeling like you're grilling them, but also getting the information you need to really be able to help them. Like if they tell you about their needs, you can say, "Have you thought about this neighborhood?" And they probably have, but they may not. Then they'll start discussing. Why it's a good fit or not a good fit for them, and you can know a lot more. You can learn a lot more about the consumer. That's right. It's about creating that conversation, right?
Exactly. So agents who want to participate in with your company, here's what we're going to do. we're going to take that super secret link at the bottom of your website, and we're going to embed it into the show's description so they can find it easier, if that's okay with you. Is that okay with you?
Absolutely, and I believe they can go to, I'm checking right now. Oh, boy. Yeah, that sounds great. We'll do that.
Are there any questions
I'm trying to find the URL for it.
No problem. I mean, if you just send it to our producer, Mr. Ventura, we'll include it when we send out the email letting everyone know about today's show. And we should have something like 50,000 listens from today's show. So you're going to get a lot of agents filling out applications, which may be is there any cost to that, by the way? They're going to all ask me that.
There's no cost to filling out an application, and we definitely like agents who come to us, know about it. You know, they come educated, and they know what they're getting into. It is a much better fit than when, you know, sometimes in smaller towns we go out and recruit an agent. They never do as well as agents who come to us and say, I like this system, I want to participate, I'm willing to invest some time.
Are there any parts of the country where you're just like, we have enough agents, we're not looking for any, or are you always looking for best-of-breed agents?
We're pretty well. There are a couple areas, but I almost, you know, we will always be looking for more agents as we grow, and we've been growing a lot over the last couple of years. But yeah, the biggest, our oldest markets like Seattle and Portland we have a lot of agents there. We have more, you know, and we try to keep a small number of agents who are sending a lot of referrals to a steady stream of business, so we can create that relationship with our agents instead of sending referrals to lots and lots of different agents.
Perfect. So are there any questions? You know, it's funny, I think my producer put together, 20 questions? Did we ask any of them? I wasn't even looking. You and I were just having a good conversation.
I think you asked about 5 of them.
Oh, did I?
No, these are great.
Are there any questions that I should have asked that I didn't? And I mean, from my perspective, I like what you're offering. I think it's great from a value proposition from the agent's perspective. They pay a referral fee. You guys are creating the lead. And in my mind, that's the kind of business that I like these agents to pursue, other than obviously generating their own business. So any questions that I should have asked you think our listeners should know about prior to ending today's show?
Well, I think that's actually a great final thing, and that is, you know, we want our agents to create their own business, and if, you know, we know our referrals turn into more referrals for great agents. So personal referrals. So, you know, if we send you a client, and if you do 5 sales or 10 sales with us in the first year, you should do another 5 or 10 sales from those folks that we introduced you to. That's, you know, that's sort of our expectation if you're doing a great job, because you've delighted them, and we understand that, and that's part of our, you know, value proposition, and maybe part of how it's worth investing even more time than it feels like in our referrals. It's a way to meet. Some of our greatest agents are like, this is how I meet new people in different social circles or different spheres, right? I get to meet totally different kinds of people.
No, I appreciate that, and you know, I also appreciate the fact that you said that, you know, it's hard to kind of look at consumers just as numbers, but just for a business perspective, every transaction should equal at least one other transaction. And, you know, what a lot of these guys that are chasing the buyer leads, that are paying for buyer leads, they're not realizing that you can get all the buyer leads you could possibly want if you just learn how to be a listing agent. But at the same time, the buyer leads that you guys are sending, I bet you with some studying, I bet you guys are, you know, 30, 40% of these are also folks that have properties to sell, or they know somebody has a property to sell, or they have a rental property that they'd like to sell. So it all goes back to that agent's ability to follow up quickly, ask the right questions, and then deliver on whatever promises that they make. And, hey, I like it. You know, great product.
Awesome.
Good job.
Well, thank you.
So, listeners, there you go. I mean, we're going to include a link in today's show replay. I realize that most of you listen to replays. So, yeah, check them out. See if it's a good fit for you. From my perspective, again, I've said this during today's radio show, anytime you guys can find a referral source where you pay a referral fee, where it's not a 6-month contract for some flat amount of money and all that sort of crazy business model, yeah, it makes sense, because then you guys pay when you have success, and they're going to help you cultivate the lead. They're going to help you, you know, they're obviously generating the lead. There's no downside to a relationship like this, provided the referral fee, Galen, doesn't get too expensive, which right now it's in line, but provided it doesn't go crazy numbers, then everything's fine, right?
Right, absolutely. And the great thing for us is we don't want to increase our referral fee. We want to increase sales. And if we increase the referral fee, we end up having to work with agents who are less busy and less productive
marginal.
and
you're
not
so,
as good.
You're so selective
Exactly.
in your words. Yeah, you're right. I mean, they're marginal. They're basically agents that will work with anybody because they don't have any other source of business. And there is a balance in that, and it is right around 25 or 30%. You get much more than that, you're not going to get quality agents that want to work with the business because it just doesn't make sense. I mean, because at the end of the day, it's just there's not enough value there from the agent's perspective for their time. But it's fantastic. So listeners, reach out to these guys. Again, see if they're a good fit for you. It looks like it's another great lead generation spoke for your lead generation wheel. In the meantime, we didn't take any commercials today, but remember, guys, if there's anything we can do for you, go to freecoachingcallsforagents.com, freecoachingcallsforagents.com. In the meantime, we'll talk with you on the radio tomorrow. And thank you very much for your time today, sir. I appreciate it.
Thanks. I really appreciate it. This was a fun call.